Good day. Good day.
What's up, Banana? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, man?
Good.
Cool. Just hodling away, are you?
Yeah. Is that from the name or the tweet that was with the space?
No. Well, perhaps if you mentioned hodling in the tweet, I did read it, but.
Oh, yeah, just the tweet that was with the space had hodlers in it. So I thought you were referring to that.
Maybe I was subconsciously. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Yeah, hit the like and sub. Hit the like and sub. Well, I guess a lot happened yesterday. I think it was the biggest liquidation in crypto history, according to Watcher Guru. So,
yeah, interesting last 24 hours. PTGC has been getting a little bit of a sell-off. I think some people getting impatient, so we had a little bit of price decrease yesterday, and then we got hit with, that massive liquidation. But it was really interesting how Pulse Chain held up, just because there's no leverage platforms on Pulse Chain. So there was pretty much no liquidations that happened on Pulse Chain. So even though the entire market, if you looked at like the top 100 cryptocurrencies, because pretty much all the top 100 cryptocurrencies have longs and shorts on them via centralized exchanges and stuff like that. Pulse Chain and all the alts on Pulse Chain don't. Pulse Chain isn't on any centralized exchanges. So
right.
When that cascade of liquidations just started happening due to that massive sell-off, which then the liquidations equals more sell-off, because then they have to sell to fulfill those liquidations. Pulse Chain wasn't affected that much. I think what we saw, if anything, was just a little bit of panic selling just from the whole overall market crashing, but not the same situation as every other asset on other chains. And I think that's like a lot of people are really pushing for centralized exchange listings, and I think it's necessary for us to get it. But there is a bright side to us being like in our own. I think Richard uses the example, our own walled garden, right? Yep. Like we're technically protected here. Obviously, we have the issue currently of issues within the walls. But I personally believe once those issues have kind of removed themselves, obviously selling their bags or, so on and so forth, like we can have an amazing environment right here in these walls where we can thrive even when days are rough outside the walls.
Yeah, man. Those days are coming. I mean, from what I saw and what I've heard, Pulse Chain didn't dump as much as like Bitcoin or Ethereum. I might be wrong. I haven't looked at it intensely.
And even where a lot of the damage was done was the alts below that, but the ones that are in the top 100, because those are also on centralized exchanges for the most part, but they don't really have as much liquidity. So when the dumping started happening within those assets, it's obviously Ethereum and Bitcoin have so much liquidity, they can actually absorb a decent amount of that. That's why you don't have so much price fluctuation. But with some of the assets with, a little bit less, you can really start to see that on the chart. I heard that some of them dipped between 50 and 80% in that moment.
Wow. Wow. Well, we have a lot to be thankful for over here in the grays then. Because I saw 19% yesterday, and I enjoyed the volatility. I'm like, okay, I could do math here. Price goes down, volatility up. More rewards. I like that.
Yeah, as long as our ecosystem gets to the levels that we want in the future with these dips, and obviously you are taking a little bit of a risk going into these dips. I think we could see that in the last 24 hours. There's people coming out of the woodworks making tweets about massive sell-off on PTGC and stuff like that. You have even some of the existing community members saying like, hey, use the funds, use the DAO funds. And
right.
You see some squirming and stuff like that. For
yes,
sure.
That's a good word. There's definitely some squirming.
Squirming within and then some gloating without,
yeah.
People aren't in, want to gloat a little bit. People within are squirming a little bit. But as long as, the protocol gets back up into the ranges, we're happy. All these dips are amazing for the protocol, right? Retesting some of these levels. I think we sadly broke the 50 mil by a little bit, which we maybe are still below it right now. I need to look. But we have that 50 mil range, like it never really hits it exact, but you can kind of call it a range, is a very, very important range for us to test. This is a previous all-time high. This is a previous, this year low. So it was our low this year. It was our 2024, one of the 2024 highs. So it's a very important range. By testing it, obviously we can see some holders getting out right at this stop. We also see a lot of holders coming in at this stop. And sometimes I feel like a broken record because I really want to make it clear to people like, hey, like this is an important opportunity, opportunity to buy. But I do feel like it's important to keep repeating myself because this opportunity can be gone so rapidly. And, I've even seen people saying like, hey, these people are promoting at the bottom. These people have promoted at the top. I kind of want to remind people like, I'm going to promote every single day.
Yeah. Yes. I dropped I think I know what tweet you're referring to, and we won't mention any names, but
there's a few. Yeah.
Okay.
They're all over the place right now.
Okay. I just
find it funny because it's like, guys, like I'm promoting this every day since it came out.
Yeah.
I'm going to promote it as long as Pulse Chain exists. Like I believe that this is a serious product that is solving store of value on blockchain with complete decentralization with the mechanics needed for price appreciation, built-in APY in a way that's decentralized. Like technically a lot of like stable coins at this point can't even pay out APY due to Genius Act and stuff like that. This is a system, a code base that has the ability for price appreciation, sustainability, built-in APY, etc. Like it is a product I think everyone is looking for. So you have to realize, like, I'm gonna be talking about this every single day. You will find tweets of me talking about this at every single low and at every single high. So you can't really look into that, but it's like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. It doesn't matter what you say. I believe in the system. I'm going to support the system. I'm going to do what I can do to help the system. I want to educate on the system. That's like my main focus right now. And we have been in a low range for a while now, especially with Pulse Chain coming down and PTGC coming down. And when I'm talking about low ranges, like obviously there's no guarantee that that's the low of the low, right? Like we could have even more of a pullback. So when I'm talking about this 50 million range right now that we're in, and we're kind of bouncing within, I think we're a little lower than it right now. Like I'm just saying like, hey, this is a possible great DCA place. If you are someone or someone that was looking to get a position and was feeling a little squirmy when we're at a 350 mil market cap, like, oh my gosh, I wish I had the opportunity to get more of this asset for cheap. These are these are the points where you need to kind of rebalance and say like, hey, I get that it feels fearful right now, and I felt euphoric more near the top, But these are the points where you should be onboarding people. You should be DCAing yourself. And, just because you DCA here doesn't mean that it can't go a little bit lower, right? If Pulse Chain pulls back, if PTDC's community sells a little bit more, it can go a little bit lower, and be prepared for that, right? It's very hard to scoop the exact bottom and sell the exact top. Richard was making a tweet about that actually today. I would love to go over. But I do feel like it is my responsibility to highlight when PTDC is at important ranges, not only to scoop up assets for yourself, but also for the community to support the price. It's a long list of reasons. And I know that the PTDC chart maybe isn't the top priority on everyone's radar with life, with holding other assets, etc. But it is the top priority on my radar. So when I see things, I'm like, hey, I want to point these things out.
Yeah. And we all have bag bias. Like you were talking about, you're going to promote PTDC and UFO every single day. Well, you're the founder, but you also believe in them. And I have my own bag bias. I'm going to promote these tokens, every single day. And we have bag bias. Let's just, call it what it is. But why do we have bag bias? Because we bought a token and we believe in it. I still believe in these two tokens. I have, most of my assets on the Pulse chain are in these two assets for a reason. It was no accident. And I wanted to touch on something, because somebody was asking in a chat, about dollar cost averaging. They're like, is it a good time? Should I just buy right now or should I wait? You've seen these questions before. I came to the realization earlier this week that when I first got in, and this is not financial advice, this is just my experience. When I first came into the grays, when I discovered it, I bought immediately. The price has never retraced to that price where I initially bought. It has never retraced to that price. And I'm so glad that I took action. And it took me a while to remember that, but and I've never waited when it comes to dollar cost averaging into the grays. I've always just taken action. And that's probably not the wisest thing to do every time, but I like to take action. I sleep better that way.
Yeah, I think so like right now, Pulse Chain in general, PTDC is kind of on a downtrend, and we don't really know exactly where that downtrend is. Yeah. Like I said, we're hitting a really strong support level right here. There's another strong support level at like the 30 mil market cap. So we're at 50 mil, 30 mil. There's a really strong support, a previous all-time high as well. And Pulse Chain's on a downtrend as well. So on a downtrend, I do think it is smart to DCA, right? Like you don't know what's going to be that solid foundation that where everything pushes back up from like forever, because I actually believe on this next move up of PTDC and of Pulse Chain, it will be an alt season move. And I don't think we're ever coming back to these levels. So I think in the downwards, you can DCA just trying to hit each level, trying to pick up those like low lows. But then you also have the different point in the market to where when something's on an uptrend, and this is usually when most people get in because there's green candles involved and most people take action on green candles. Yeah. And when something's in an uptrend, I agree with what you're saying a lot more. Like if you are looking for that position and it looks like something's confirming an uptrend, it looks like the market's confirming an uptrend, and you're about to go into like an alt season move, which when you got into PTGC, it was kind of like that. You know what I mean? Things were moving up. So I think it's more responsible to do what you're saying, where you kind of just go all into something when it's in that uptrend move, when it's confirmed its bottom and started to make its way up again, over doing it on a downtrend. When you're doing it on a downtrend, you don't know where that downtrend is going to stop, and that's why DCAing isn't a bad idea. On an uptrend, though, it's things can move out even the range your first purchase was in very, very quickly, right?
Sure. In reference to the Twitter posts that have been going around, I'm like a contributor to X. I don't consume X very much. But one of them came into my inbox earlier this week, and I refrained. I didn't say anything. But the next day, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to drop my pinned tweet in there and just not say anything, because the pinned tweet says everything. So I dropped it in there. I thought I was going to be like a grenade in this dude's Twitter post. It didn't get a single comment. I think I got a few hearts. But, for those that are wondering, if you want to go see if you want to go see it, you can go to my X account. And by the way, I have the PDI circle around my profile today because they asked me to speak about UFO and PTDC's LP with PDI. And they asked me if I would put that, that circle around just to support the conference. So that's why that's there. But in reference to that post, here's the guts of it. It's a challenge with a 10 million PLS reward. The challenge is find me a token that has outperformed PTDC, but it needs to meet certain criteria. It has to have done more X's, has to pay APY, have no admin keys, be 1 year old or older, and have greater than $10 million in LP, $5 million of which must be burned. And it was dead silence on that tweet. I mean, on that post that I put in that guy's chat. I'm like, come on, guys, can you fight? I wanted to ask him, and I don't want to engage in the conversation, but I want to ask him, okay, so what tokens on Pulse Chain would you recommend? I'd like to dig into the guy's head and get an answer, but I'm not going to. I wonder what he would say.
Yeah, usually it's ones they own.
Yep. Right? Or ones that they have built.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually don't engage them that much. That's usually what they're looking for is engagement. You have to realize most posts that happen on Twitter are specifically for engagement to their portfolio or their profile. They're marketing their own profile by tapping into obviously other communities, etc. But yeah, right now PTDC doesn't even fall into that category of your pinned tweet is the honest truth.
Let's see.
We definitely have dropped below our 10 million in liquidity just due to our asset moving down, and then also
sure,
the paired assets moving down as well. So we need to reclaim our title as well.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. Does anybody want to come on? I mean, seems to be a lot happening in crypto. So, Zen and I don't need to be the major balance of the show. If anyone wants to jump up, please do.
One thing I liked in the last 12 hours is Richard became pretty active and put out some great info. To me, it really seemed like he's willing to fight at this level. He was giving out good information. He was reminding people of some of his previous teachings. Like, for an example, the liquor ladies and leverage one.
Yep.
Obviously that huge retracement was due to leverage. And there was tons of people that lost a majority of their value this bull run already, right? Because a lot of people were longing positions thinking, ETH was about to go up. And by doing leverage, they just wicked that thing down real quick. You just lost all your money. They just liquidated you. Now, all the value you had sitting for this bull run that you just had to put in the right assets is gone. Not because you sold, it's because they sold it for you.
Right. Well, I'm ready to review his tweets whenever you want to, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let's go over. Let's just kind of work our way down. I think there's a good 4 decent ones in there.
Yeah. Thomas Benson says, it's just a waiting game before the floodgates open. I agree.
I actually think it was kind of good for the market. Shaking it out now means all that sell pressure is gone in the future. Because most long positions, you have to realize as they reach, where they're profitable, that's sell pressure in the future.
Yes.
It sucks though. You know what I mean? We hate to see people
Yes.
$20 million or $20 billion of liquidations is obviously no joke and really sad. But it actually makes it to where the whole entire crypto market is a lot less heavy moving forward into this bull market. And a lot of the alt tokens too. Because if you look at the top 100 assets, those got hit just as hard as everything else because those all have you know, longs and shorts on them as well because they're on centralized exchanges also.
Yeah. Okay, his latest Richard Hart's latest post was a video, the value of weak hands.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. He's either has them or he's clipping or someone's clipping and he just thought, oh, this makes sense right now. Throwing those up for us is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think it's too often that he brings back some of his old clips.
Well, somebody clipped that and he reposted it or downloaded it and uploaded it or whatever he did. I'll talk to you about it afterwards. But he, you guys can read it, but I don't think we're going to sit here and read the transcripts. Although if we want to, we can, Zen. It's 2.5 minutes.
No, I think everyone could go into there and watch it.
Yeah. I don't know if are you familiar with Hivid Hex, this lady?
Yes.
Okay. I heard that she has been his girlfriend at some point. I'm not sure how true that is. I
believe it's true.
Okay. And she's like, man, I sure miss your streams, Rich. And a bunch of people hearted it. I threw in a heart. I'm like, yeah, man, I would love for Richard to stream. It would be a great a reintroduction to everyone on Pulse Chain of how intelligent and witty he is. I think it would be a good reminder.
Yeah.
So let's see what else he posted. I guess I have to get to the.
Yeah, one thing on the video, I think it's the video that talks about it, or maybe it's his next tweet about it. You know, he definitely is talking about like, hey, when things are at the bottom and crypto in general goes volatile, I'd say you could put PTGC in this category, honestly. I think we're pretty close to the bottom, not the bottom, but a fair bottom range. Like I said, we have this range right here, this 50 million range, which is pretty strong as a low. And then we also have a previous all-time high around 30 mil. So obviously it can go lower, just like Pulse Chain can go lower. But both Pulse Chain and PTGC are sitting at kind of these low, strong support levels that I think we could build off. No guarantees. Obviously, it could go to the next low as well. But what's interesting is when we are at lows and everything gets like volatile in all of crypto. I think yesterday is a great example of like the most volatile you could get. That's when some hands are going to be shaken out, right? At the lows of Pulse Chain. And it's not so much only the disbelief in Richard himself. It's just the fact that people are getting afraid that this bull market is over. And people selling at a loss is technically a distribution to people who have strong hands.
Yep.
So, and I do think it's important to realize is people are selling at a loss right now in Pulse Chain. Pretty much everyone. Like obviously some people have made gains and they might be selling their gains. But as far as PLS's price, it is lower than the sacrifice price and the price that a lot of people have bought in at with dry powder. That being said, the volatility in the rest of the market, if you look at the top 100 assets that exist, the profits or the money that was pulled in the last 24 hours, we have to realize like most of that is money people are up on. So when stuff gets volatile, people are more more likely to sell things that they're up on, and you saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
This be close to all-time highs, started tanking. Even a lot of the alts weren't at bottoms. They're in good ranges where people are at in profit. Well, they're willing to leave, you know, and then you have Bitcoin that was very close to all-time highs as well, you know, obviously in new all-time highs this cycle, got hit as well pretty hard. So, you know, I do think it's interesting, the situation that we're in. People are selling bottoms when stuff gets volatile, which is a transfer of wealth to strong hands. But in most other assets at this time that are at all-time highs, it's not a transfer to strong hands. It's people are taking profits off the table.
Okay.
Richard has a marble analogy that explains it pretty well.
Yeah, it's in the video on his post.
In that video. So if you kind of want a better explanation of what I was just saying, watch that video. I don't think he put it up for no reason.
Yeah, I got to rewatch it later. I was listening to it, but distracted. Well, how about we read the post that he posted just prior to posting that video? Do you want to just read it?
Yeah.
Okay. This was 2 hours ago on Richard Hart's Twitter. How to feel better when you're down in money. ETH dropped $1,500. The supply is 121 million. That's $185 billion of pain across all the holders. But you don't hear $185 billion worth of crying. Most holders have seen all this before or don't even bother to check. You're dipped back to 3 months ago's price, by the way. I thought that was great. And the numbers aren't actually real anyway. Everyone can't stop the top and everyone can't sell the bottom, or they can't sell the top and everyone can't sell the bottom. Everyone's imaginations as to what they could have sold for are for numbers that are just that, imaginary. Nothing in the world has infinite liquidity except fiat currency. Lol. Money printer go burr. So when you see a high price or a low price, realize that it's only that high or that low for a very small set of holders or buyers, because anyone that tries to capture it moves it. It's like a hallucination that when you reach for it, it's not there. That being said, historically, people that follow this account have had some pretty cool insights regarding tops time and time again. So that's nice. Investing is a game where the impatient lose their money to the patient, where there's product market fit. There you go, man.
Yeah, I think that's a great post of just where we are on Pulse Chain right now and where we are within PTGC and UFO right now as well. There is some uncertainty. You can see that, you know, like we were talking about earlier within PTGC and UFO's ecosystem, people want us to inject out funds, etc., make everyone feel better. But look at right now as a good opportunity. Look at where Pulse Chain is in general. Like, it's not like Pulse Chain's rocking and we're doing bad. Pulse Chain's, you know, in a pullback and we're in a pullback. And I strongly believe the people who are actually patient within the PTGC ecosystem are going to be greatly rewarded. Obviously, if you're not patient, you're going to be paying the patient people. You're going to be selling your assets for a little bit less than they're worth. Obviously, you could still be up and you might be in a good position, and that, you know, so maybe it doesn't bother you that much. But for most people, you know what I mean? I think they consider the PTGC asset undervalued right now. And I think, hey, let's just be a little bit patient. We see the Dow earning revenue every single day. You know, for an example, in the last 24 hours, I think the Dow has probably earned like $7,000 or whatever. And that's $7,000 at the lows of Pulse Chain, which is pretty much like 200 million Pulse. Well, 200 million Pulse at sacrifice price is, I think, $20,000. Right? So by being patient, let's say, I think right now we're at like 8 billion Pulse in general. The goal in right now is roughly 10 billion. If we can get to 10 billion and kind of put that aside and wait for the revaluing of Pulse Chain, with Pulse Chain at sacrifice price, that's $1 million of buy pressure to our ecosystem that already has buy pressure going into it constantly. In an uptrend, there's going to be user demand. There's going to be reflexivity of assets that we're connected to. We have the automatic functions buying and burning PTGC every single day. I'm sure in the last 24 hours, there's been a few $1,000s of PTGC bought and burned forever. This happens automatically every single day, depending on the volume and volatility. But then we're also going to have possibly $1 million sitting on the side, also increasing the value of PTGC at a strategic point. And this kind of goes to me back to patience. Guys, we need to have a little bit of patience. We have a plan. We've utilized this plan 3 times now. This would be the third. 2 times prior. First time sent us to all-time highs. Second time sent us to pretty much all-time highs. I think we hit right over 20-to-1 ratio. So we've seen the system work. Sadly, the last time Pulse Chain started retracing at right above half the SAC price, we didn't get that big alt season like we thought we were heading into. But what this is actually giving us is another chance to rebuild that PLS back up, which we're doing, and then do another push. But what's better about this push than the previous is the PTGC asset is even more distributed than it was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
There's more supply bought and burned than 6 months ago. There's more LP tokens in LP than even 6 months ago. Every single transaction is adding to the foundation of the grays. So it hurts, right? I 100% understand that it hurts that there's a pullback and we're seeing value in our portfolios. But if we feel confident that Pulse Chain, PTGC, and UFO are going to the levels that we believe they're going, these dips actually are making everything stronger for the future. And we're earning more PTGC in quantities at these levels as well. When it's low, we're actually given the opportunity to DCA in if you want to. You don't have to. You can just collect more PTGC every single day. That's your DCA. You don't even need to buy. It's your APY dripping into your wallet. You can onboard other people at these low levels and feel confident that you're getting them in at a good price that could increase a few X's very, very easily, which for most average Joes, that's mind-blowing to them that they could throw 5K in and next thing they know, they're looking at 15K, and we all know that's nothing for crypto. Like, they could throw 5K in and be looking at $500,000 very quickly as well with a successful Pulse Chain. But, I think it's just important, that Richard's talking about that patience side and the fact that people who have short-term mindsets throughout history of cryptocurrency have lost, and people who have had long-term mindsets and delayed gratification have been patient, have won like crazy. Even where we are at this dip right now, at 3,500 or ETH, whatever that is, if you held on the ETH for 6 years now, you're still up 10x.
Yeah.
And not saying 10x is like the best thing in the world, but look at every other asset class out there. That's a lot better than everything else.
Yeah. Polygon says in the chat, he says, when Zen speaks like this, I get a dopamine boost. That's a fun one.
Yeah, I appreciate him saying that. that makes me feel good that I'm at least helping some people.
Yeah. You're helping Polygon with his drug addiction.
His dopamine addiction.
Yes.
He's coming to the grays for.
Those stylists must be in the USA. Good morning from the USA. Yay. Okay.
Yeah,
and I was joking. I know you're in the USA. What's that?
Let's keep making our way through Richard's tweets if you want.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. I got to find it again. How to feel better. Okay, we read that one. The next one, the previous one was, let me pull this up on the screen for YouTube. He says, you want some good news? And I'm thinking, yes, Richard, please. I still think crypto is going up. Leverage washouts are part of every bull market where people can take leverage. That's a bull post. I'm going to claim it. I haven't heard anybody say it. I'm putting my name on that one. That's Richard Hart bull posting right there.
Yeah, that post is awesome. Richard takes a lot of pride in being able to call market tops and bull markets and bear markets. He's claiming in that tweet, bull market is still on. No one worry. Obviously, if he's incorrect there, people can use that receipt against him. I felt that was awesome that he put that out there. From previous experience, he's saying like, yeah, that was the biggest, right? Because everyone's taking on way too much leverage nowadays, which makes sense. Everyone's gambling addicts in crypto nowadays. So it makes sense. Everyone's just taking on so much leverage. They want so much gain with little time. To me, just Richard seen this before. Obviously, that was bigger than rest, but that was a lot of sell pressure at the next move that's now erased. And obviously, we're probably going to have a rough few days just because people are scared the bull market's over. But Richard coming out and saying he thinks bull market's still on feels good to me, right? I love this to hear him say that. He doesn't say stuff like that too often.
Sure. Yeah, agreed. And his previous one was, ladies, liquor, and leverage is how smart men go broke.
Yeah, I think that's obviously a teaching of his for a long time. I have one lady, I have my wife. I don't drink and I don't do leverage, so I think I'm pretty good at living by his 3 L's. I think obviously yesterday was a great example of leverage just wiping out a lot of people's net worths, and it obviously I think is somewhat okay if you're just doing it with small amounts here or there for a fun dopamine hit, like we're saying, people are gambling addicts. But be very careful doing it with a large percentage of your portfolio. It's very similar to just throwing money in random meme tokens with large amounts of money. Obviously, you could hit it big, but you also could just get all your money taken like that as well.
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing. They wait for the market to look bullish. They wait for those long positions to fill, and a lot of money to be there, and they have enough revenue to just dip it just like that to liquidate all of that. So, obviously that's still legal in cryptocurrency, and it's a way for large players to make $1 billion really, really quickly, or hundreds of millions of dollars really quickly with the control of the market they have. Why would you think they wouldn't do that? They will, and they did. So.
I don't know if you saw this post. He posted pulsechain.com, the pulse chart from August 9th through the 10th. And he's like, lol. I don't know what he was referring to here, but he must be referring to the dip at the end of it.
He's showing that pulse chain didn't dip. I think a couple assets were up with the rest of the market like burning into oblivion.
Yeah. I think he's up to something. And then there's another lull. He's laughing at what are these? BNB down 8%, XRP, Solana. Oh, all these, Tron, Bitcoin. Yeah, it was rough, man. It was super rough. He laughs. I don't know if that's very nice though.
Yeah, the counter of it is, hey, we've been down throughout this whole bull market, so it's not too laugh out loud. I'm glad we got one win, but
yes,
we got some catching up to do too.
Oh man, yeah, we'll get there.
One account I've been following, Richard recently posted that new stats account for Pulse Chain.
Yes.
And whenever he posts stuff like that, I don't know. For me, I feel like no one's told me they know who that is, if it's just a community member or what. If anyone knows, I'd love to hear, because as of right now, I'm just thinking that this is someone on his team that, they said, hey, we need something to do. Okay, hey, let's get a revamped stats page going. because I think this stats page is awesome. And he posted it. So they have an account on Twitter that I've been following, and they post some pretty smart stuff. They're bringing up that during the COVID dip, that this was a pivotal part in Hex, right? This is kind of what sparked Hex's move up, was the COVID dip, and they feel like it's a similar situation. If you want, after we're done with these, we can kind of find that that tweet from them as well. I could find it real quick, but I feel like people are putting a few things together. Like even the dip like this might have been something Richard was actually waiting for, knowing that there was a dip like this, and this could be like that last leverage dip before alt season, right? And that's where he really starts to make his ground. We don't know his exact plan. We don't know all his plays. We're kind of just putting the pieces together by studying previous games. But I think it's an interesting tweet, and I think that account knows more than an average person is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Even if it's not Richard's team or Richard, but someone who is obviously a big follower of Richard and studies his movements. Seems like a smart guy behind it is where I'm getting at.
Sure. Well, that's it for Richard's tweets of, the last 24 hours or so. One thing that I learned from Sami this week was that when Hex ran last cycle, the PMI was up to about 58 at that time. And now it went from 48.7 to 49.1 from August to September. So I don't know, I'm kind of fishing for information. Do you know whether Richard Hart looks to this metric?
I don't know that. I haven't heard Richard mention that previously.
Okay. Well, this is one I'm keeping an eye on. So, I mean, if it went up to 58, I'd probably be excited. Be expecting something. Well, PTDC lost a little bit of the ratio against Pulse, but we're still up. We are up from where we were last year. I did get some stats together, Zen, comparing PTDC to October 2024 to October 2025. And let's just say it out loud. I mean, it's October 11th. So this is PTDC's second birthday. It's been operating flawlessly for now 24 months. It's in its 25th month right now.
Awesome. Hey, real quick before we go on to the stats, which I want to do right now, I wanted to pull up that tweet that I found from this account. Interesting. It says, let's set the record straight. Top 100 alts all got wrecked today. 60 to 80% crashes in a matter of an hour. Even XRP crashed down 50+%. Meanwhile, Pulse Chain cores all held up strong and are even green for the day. This reminds me of when Hex decorrelated back in 2021. Remember what happened next? ? And it's too long to didn't read. Don't get shaken out now. Our time is coming.
Who posted that?
The PulseChainStats.com official account, or I think is the official account, which is the stats page that Richard posted a few days ago.
Yeah. And I was on that. I'm on that site, and I scrolled to the bottom, and I didn't see a link to their X account.
Yeah, I just typed it in, but they seem to post some good stuff.
Okay.
I also they post a lot of kind of like how we post the PTGC stats from our stats page as we see interesting stuff.
Yes.
They kind of post a lot of like interesting stats from their stats pages, which are PulseX, Pulse Chain stats. So it's I kind of like following it. I like seeing the stats. They're talking about, how much has been bought and burned of PulseX in the last day. They also talk about like how much of Pulse Chain's supply has been gotten stuck in in the pump tire smart contracts and what kind of value that has at these lows and what kind of value that could have in the future. And it's all interesting stuff. To me, obviously, like I was saying, it's either someone I think associated to Richard's team, someone like on the payroll, making a really good stats page with all of these moving parts, which we need, or it's just a really smart individual who's like putting a lot of great information together for us.
Yeah. I'm going to repost this real quick. I found their account.
I love, like, this is kind of why I love the PTGC stats charts and stuff like that, and looking at every asset from different angles, because I feel like everyone gets so obsessed with the price chart, right?
Yeah.
But there's
so much more.
Oh, yeah, there's so much more metrics than just price chart. And by studying the other metrics, even when the price charts aren't doing good, it actually helps you make future predictions and guesses of what the price chart will be in the future. If the price chart's going down just because, you know, crypto in general is going down or the blockchain isn't getting much adoption, that's fine. But if every other metric you're looking at is saying like, hey, this thing's about to explode. For an example, yesterday, PulseX had $25,000 of buy-in birds at pretty much like lows of PulseX. Like, that's been happening for 2.5 years straight, pretty much. Like, eventually that catches up with itself, and all the weak hands have transferred not only to the strong hands, this is what's going on with PTGC as well, but the strongest hands that can exist, burn addresses. They will never sell, ever. Once we're up 10x, 20x, 50x, 100x, and what that means is the people who are scooping the bottoms of PTGC today, the people who are scooping the bottoms of PulseChain, the people who are scooping the bottoms of PulseX, even strong hands, they're the strongest hands. They're the dead addresses. So when price appreciation comes, we know one of the biggest holders of PulseX, PTGC, UFO, etc., are wallets that can never even sell on us in the future. So we're replacing people who are selling on us with literally a wallet that can never sell on us. That's like the best distribution ever.
Yeah. Well, speaking of stats, let's go over some stats.
Sweet. Yeah.
All right. So the people are you watching YouTube?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So you're not spying on me. Okay. That's good to know. Okay. Let me find it here. Look into. Everybody in YouTube is going to see everything all at once. I'm not going to hide it. But we'll just go down the list. I've got maybe, it looks like I have about a dozen different metrics. We'll start with the price. I'll just say it out loud. It's cheaper today than it was in October last year. Okay. So that's just crypto. It's highly volatile, which is why we are here. So
the end of October.
I'm not sure. I just do a snapshot, like I just do a snapshot right in the middle of the price of the month to get the price.
So real quick before we move on, I'm still working through some of the things I don't like, but I have the stats page that I've been working on for way too long now. And one of the stats on it is I have a UFO and PTGC growth chart against 3 of the biggest assets in PulseChain. And you can look at the week growth, the month growth, the 6-month growth, or the 1-year growth. So I don't know if it's completely accurate. I need to double check it.
Okay, we can do it. We can do it right here on Deck Screener. So let's see. USD, let's go to the monthly. I don't mind double checking either.
I think your snapshot is from the end of the month.
Okay, it may be.
And we were making some serious ground in this month last year.
Okay. I have, let's see, hold on, make sure I'm getting this right. I'm on the monthly price in USD. I think you're right. It was 3 zeros, 14. Okay, so we are still up. I'm glad you said something.
Yeah, I'm seeing on my thing that I have built 24% up on PTGC, 65% up on UFO, 86% up on Bitcoin, 40% down on Pulse Chain, 60% up on Ethereum, and 31% up on Solana.
Okay.
So Bitcoin's pretty much beating everything right now, which, is we're still up a little bit, but I'm definitely excited. Hence the reason why I even put this chart together was not showcasing us getting beaten by the big legacy assets. I want to show, as time goes on, us really start to outperform some of these larger players with sustainability, longevity, scarcity, and liquidity.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Exactly.
All right, hold on. I'm trying to adjust my price and my records now, but I probably should just press pause on that.
You don't need to. I felt like I had the tool for price, so we might as well use it.
Yeah. No, I'm just one
close.
second.
I'm almost at the point where I'm gonna ask you to kind of look through everything with me and see if you see anything we should change. Stats page is pretty much done, where I'll get you the temporary link and a few people to poke around on it. And then from there, I have a lot of testing with the dApps and stuff like that, just to make sure they're functioning right before those things go public. But we'll have at least the stats pages, which was the most important thing to me on this site rebuild. But just a really in-depth stats page is, I believe, pretty much done.
Cool.
Besides a couple little markups that I just gave the devs. They thought they were done, but I found some stuff I didn't really like how it was giving out the information. For an example, it was going off of, we were making future burn predictions based on how much we bought and burned, and what they were going off of is we were out for 2 years and we've bought and burned 12% of supply or whatever it is, right? So they're making the prediction that, okay, in 2 more years, we're going to burn another 12%. And I said, this just isn't accurate, because in the first year we bought and burnt so much because prices were so low. I would prefer to only go off of the last year's data, which in the last year, PTGC has bought and burned over $1 million of PTGC, even at these prices. I think it's right over 1% of the supply or something like that. I said, hey, this is a more accurate number, because in the last year, we've been pretty much this exact price or higher. So it's a very fair number to base future growth off of.
Yeah. I will review that site. I was poking around in it this morning just a little bit, but once it's done, just ping me. Let me know if you want to jump on a call and we can go over it together. We can do that too. All right. So we have some other metrics. And so the correction is that we are up in price over last year. Not a lot. We're in the same range in my opinion, but we are up over last year. And then the Dolphin cost last year at this time, it cost $4,000. Right now it costs about $5,000. And those are just round numbers. The liquidity has nearly doubled from 2.8 million to 5.4 million. The volume, this is the one
that's a good metric to think about.
Okay. Stop me on any of these.
Yeah, the doubling of liquidity. Obviously, I know throughout the last year we spent a lot of time building that liquidity. But one thing that stands out to me is the fact that we're roughly the same price, obviously a little higher, but Pulse Chain is even lower. So naturally, our liquidity should be a little lower as well, because a lot of your liquidity comes from your bonded assets movements. That just means we've spent a lot of revenue building up the liquidity web in the last year, which makes sense, right? Every single transaction that happens within PTDC adds to liquidity day in, day out.
Yep. I was very happy to see that one. Now, probably my favorite metric on here is the volume. The average daily volume last year was $6,900. So far in October, it has averaged 132,000. That is, I mean, well, let's see, 132 divided by 6.9. That's 19x. That's a 19x in volume.
Now,
No.
Say the numbers again.
6,900 times 19. Yeah. It's a
6,900.
Yeah.
6,900.
Yep.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's good news, man. All right. And this is an interesting one. The percent of pulse chains volume that PTDC comprises. Okay, all the volume on the entire network. We're just taking the I think I get the volume from my deck screener, just snapshotting the volume of pulse chain, the entire network. What portion of that is PTDC? In October of last year, it was 0.33%. And in September, this is really not October, but in September, we were 1.17%. So nearly is that a triple? That's a triple and a half, 3.5x more percent of all of Pulse Chain's volume is PTDC now compared to last year.
So I have how much value we've generated based on the volume. Obviously, the price of this is paid in crypto, which the crypto has moved in price, but just based on volume. Guess how much value PTGC has generated via the fees collected from users / market maker bots in the last year?
Just the fees in the last year?
Yeah, how much have we generated in the last year in fees?
$2 million? Just a guess.
$4,678,000.
Dude.
That's $1,871,000 going to the DAO, which has been used 100% for buy and burns or LP ads and a little bit of marketing here or there. For the most part, just buy and burns and LP ads, 99.5%. Obviously, we're still sitting on a good chunk of it right now. I think it's worth like $250,000 at the moment in the DAO. $935,000 went to holders. $935,000 just for holding. So if you're a holder, you earn PTDC just for holding based on the revenue we generate. That's $467,000 that went to the automatic buy and burn that happens with every single transaction. $935,000 went to stakers, so you can earn additional 150% roughly APY if you stake your PTDC assets. And then $467,000 to the automatic liquidity ad within every transaction. I just want to remind everyone, so we're roughly at $5 million of value generation in the last year on a system that's on a chain that has barely even broken half of SAC price in the last year. If you look at PLS's average price in the last year, it's roughly a third of SAC price. That's the average price in the last year.
Wow.
That means if we're just to get our average to SAC price, we could see PTDC naturally sitting around $15 million of value generation.
Yeah.
I don't know. 5 million isn't a crazy amount. I know that. But I just want to remind everyone that the chain we've been on hasn't been performing too well. There hasn't been really new users or new value flowing in. And we've been able to use this last year to do a lot. We've been able to add LP. We've been able to do buy and burns. In the last year, we've bought and burnt $1 million of PTDC. Obviously, the chart is down right now, but keep in mind, $1 million worth of PTDC has been bought from weak hands and put into the strongest hands, the debt address.
Yeah.
We're still in the foundation phase of PTDC. Everything we're doing right now is getting ready for the move up of Pulse Chain. And the more we do right now, the bigger this foundation gets, the stronger the community gets, the larger the community gets. In my opinion, that's the larger this building can be built when the time is right, when it is go time for this chain.
Yeah, man. That's a lot of volume. That's a lot of economic energy distributed in just a year at the bottom of the chain. I just can't imagine what it's going to be, like 4 years from now, like even in the next bull run.
Yeah, I don't like comparing PTDC to a business, but we have to remember, like, most businesses even take like 4 to 5 years to get into profit. And we can actually see PTDC's growth even in the first 2 years. And again, it's not business, but I do think there is an adoption curve of any business, of any ecosystem, as they learn, as they get better, as they grow. And I think, the years to come are going to be great with the success of Pulse Chain, with the success of us, with the success of our community and the growth of our community. We know that Green Candles onboards a lot of people. This is when we've onboarded the most amount of people into PTDC. That last year's growth, Pulse Chain hasn't done a lot in the last year. We haven't done a lot in the last year due to being on the chain. But the fact that we've been able to utilize the last year to make our ecosystem even stronger is super important to pay attention to, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Just adjusting some columns here. Let's move on. Okay. Are you okay highlighting the ratios of PTDC against the 4 cores?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Starting with Pulse. Last year, it cost 2.67 Pulse per PTDC. Now it's 5.8. Hex. Last year, it cost 0.01 Hex per PTDC. Now it's 0.03. Pulse X. Last year, 4.85 Pulse X per PTDC. Now it's 8.54. Inc. Last year, 4065. This year, 3013. So all 4 of the cores have been, I don't think diluted is the right word, but PTDC has outperformed all 4 of the core assets by X's. I mean, some of them like 2, most of them 2X. Inc. I think is 4 or 5X, but that's impressive. Absolutely. Because why does it impress me? Because pretty much everybody on Pulse Chain is a Richard Hart fan, is a Hex fan, and I am too. But here's this little token that comes out of nowhere, and it's outperforming those assets by leagues over a long period of time. It's not just a 1 month deal. Did you have any comment on that, man? He probably just wants to leave it alone. Zen, did I lose you or did you guys lose me? Can you hear me on YouTube? I am not muted. I think we lost something. Can you guys hear me on YouTube? Cool. I'm going to drop out. Thanks, man. Did you lose me, Zen? I think we lost Zen. Zen, you're muted if you can hear me. We're just going to hold tight, guys, till Zen comes back. Maybe it was an alien. Maybe it was an alien abduction. So Zen is totally, he's muted. Anybody on Spaces? Can you guys hear me? There's no one in Spaces, guys. There's like 14 people in there. So funny, man. Why is it funny? Because I was just thinking this yesterday. Like, if you ever have those, they call them a fair weather friend or a fake friend. You know, they just come around when they want something. That's how some people are in crypto. They only come around when it's pumping. And I know some of them, and it's okay. They're probably being smart, going out and living life, and then come back when it's great, you know. I don't know what. I think we ended the space. You just checked what, my TikTok? There hasn't been much activity on there. I think we lost the space totally. It's 9 o'clock, so we've been on for an hour. I think we play the recording. Yeah, I think we got rugged. So he's probably going to create another one, and we'll just jump into that one. Joshua, I appreciate you. Oh, you can hear me on X. Give me another thumbs up, dude, if that's what you mean. Well, you could, because I'm not on X anymore. He's going to drop another Spaces link probably in the Telegram. So I should. Oh, here we go. No. He's gonna. Okay, we're jumping in another space. Let me do it on my phone. Give me a second. Okay. Sorry, guys. Poisonal. All right, let me get this going, and I'll post it on X. Request.
Can you hear me, Banana?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
What happened?
I stopped being able to hear you randomly, and I think you stopped being able to hear me. I don't know if the listeners could hear either of us.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. We were talking about the ratios of the core assets and versus PTDC. It's kind of where we left off. Did you catch it all?
I heard most of it. I forget really where you got exactly cut off, but you definitely went through all the core assets, and we're highlighting some of the core assets. Pretty much we've outperformed by double. A couple, I think some of them outperformed by 3x, and that's kind of where we're at as of right now, which I think is very good considering the fact that people are down on their pulse chain assets. So when people do sell their pulse chain assets, they are selling for a loss. There's a founder there that possibly might pump those assets at any time. When those assets pump up, they're going to just pump PTDC up. PTDC is now actually getting to the size to where as we increase, we're actually helping the core assets as well because we're getting so large in liquidity. The other side of it is, though, is, hey, we've been able to push to new levels. Obviously, we're kind of getting pushed back to this floor that we're at right now. I think it's just a combination of things. I think it's the combination of lack of new users flowing into the new chain, alongside the fact that there is people within the Grace ecosystem that are in profits, and a lot of people are utilizing the profits within the Grace to pay for the things that they were expecting Pulse Chain to pay for, honestly. If that's paying some bills, if that's paying back some debt, if that's paying back their funds that they use to gamble on meme tokens and lost them, to get back their cores that they spent, etc. I think people have been utilizing PTGC a little bit in that way, and it's still nice to be able to see, due to the market not moving to the next level, which really gets in the new group, which then keeps everything going, we've still been able to sustain these very nice spots. And I think the reason we've been able to sustain is not only the community's hard work, but the code's hard work as well. The fact that we have this machine working behind us, creating that sustainable foundation for me and Banana and the rest of the community to lean on as we push through these unique crypto times.
Unique crypto times. Yes.
It is unique.
Yeah.
So we're at a point where I was just talking to someone about this is, because they were kind of reaching out to me. I could tell that they were feeling a little bit more antsy about saving up the DAO funds this round than the previous times when we did this strategy. The previous times, they completely understood. And this time they're like, hey, we need to utilize it now. And I said, what is different about the previous times that worked so well? This is the strategy that pushed us to all-time high after all-time high, or in the previous one right up to the all-time high. Why are you feeling a little bit antsy this time? And I kind of said, I think it's because we are so late in this cycle that you're getting afraid that it's almost over, right? But I've now came to the conclusion that the 4-year cycle is going to be a little bit different this time. So we're pretty much past it, is the honest truth at this point. So we are literally in uncharted territories at this point in this cycle. We're seeing largest liquidation events that have ever occurred. We're seeing ETH struggling even to break all-time highs, literally over 4 years into this market cycle. You have Bitcoin that front ran this market cycle, which was against the normal situation of the previous market cycles. So in my opinion, nothing has been going to plan. But what I've loved to lean on is we've done a strategy a few times now within the PTGC ecosystem, and it's continued to work, and it's continued to make our system stronger. And I felt like that was an interesting thing to bring up. Like, hey, a lot of people are squirming a little bit because they are honestly pushed, like at this point, 6 months past the timeline that they had in their head due to the standard 4-year cycle. We are 6 months past it at this point, but we are still struggling to get an alt season. So a lot of people are getting a little squirmy, like, oh, we're moving down, and this is the time 6 months late that we should be moving up. But, I think at this point it's pretty obvious that the standard 4-year cycle has been pretty much broken. And I think, Richard made it clear yesterday that he thinks the bull market's still on. So, hey, don't get too worried. Just things are changing, evolving, which makes sense. Everything evolves over time as people get better educated, as people front run things, etc. As more adoption comes into crypto companies, etc. Like, we have to realize, like, if any significant dip comes in, there's governments and companies willing to scoop that dip now, where previously it was all dependent on human emotions. Code and companies and governments don't have as much emotion as users, right? So I do think this could be prolonged, and the dips are going to be less and less. Obviously, we had a massive dip yesterday due to that liquidation event. But to me, I bet you there's people standing on the sidelines kind of waiting to scoop it up, especially once they shift some finances in some right spots to make it happen and confirm that it's not going lower.
Yeah. Yeah. Bitcoin is at 112,000 right now.
Yeah, it's already bouncing back. I think it got down to 100,000.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it sure did. It went down below 100,000.
I wouldn't be surprised if it retests that, because I think there is some people who are like scared and thinking the bull market might be over. So it might retest it, or it might just start moving up from here, and that liquidation event was all it needed. but I think very much, we're still in a good spot. And the fact that we still have all of our reserves, sadly, our reserves are in an asset that has been moving down with us. So we really want that reserve to move back up in price. But that reserve can double, triple, quadruple very, very rapidly. And as it's increasing, we have to keep in mind, like, we will be generating even more until that time. So if we get to this 10 billion number, and then let's say we start doing some LP ads or some buy and burns or buys and wait for future LP ads with stables, etc., like, we'll spark that back up. And then even once we're going up and then we're utilizing those funds, there's going to be more funds coming in. That's what's so beautiful about these systems is a lot of other reserves that exist have a cap. After they're used, they're gone. After they're used, that's where the sell-off happens because everyone's just waiting for the use of those funds, and then there's nothing else coming after that. What's nice about the PTGC system is as we're in saving mode right now, but as we're utilizing them in the future or even right now, we know that there's more dripping in constantly every single day. Some days better than others, but what we found is in uptrends, it does flow in a little bit smoother because more value is flowing around, new money's flowing in, but also we get the price appreciation at the same time, which feels great.
Yes. Okay, back to the stats for the last year. There are two more. Tokens burned. Last October, 37.7 billion. Okay, this is what the total burned. 37.7 billion. This October, 42.4. So we burned nearly 5 billion tokens in the last year.
Okay, yeah, so close to 2% of the supply, getting there to 2% of the supply.
Yeah. New wallets last October was 720 for the whole month. This October, well, let's just use September, 219. A little slow, like 500 wallets less, but still, we still gained 219 wallets. Okay.
Yeah, and that's pretty good considering that September was a downtrend. What we found last October was in an uptrend. An uptrend in Pulse Chain, uptrend in PTGC means new users are actually flowing into Pulse Chain, new values flowing into Pulse Chain. And in simplistic terms, when new users and new money flows in, those users need a place to park the capital, and that new capital needs a place to be parked. Obviously, a good chunk of this capital will get put into RH tokens. We know that. We're on RH's chain. But a large percentage of that actually has made its way to PTGC, and that's why we saw that massive user increase during that time. When that reversal happens, I don't see a world where anything acts differently than the previous move up of Pulse Chain. We can literally look at this time last year and say, okay, this is the last time Pulse Chain had a significant amount of value and users flow into it. What happened to PTGC? What we're preparing for right now is that next event. We don't know exactly when that day comes, but we want to make sure when that day comes or when that month comes or when that 3-month period comes, we're as prepared as we can be. That's the most important thing we can do right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we're working on that. Does anybody else care to come up and chat? We have 12, like 15 people in spaces. It's like a ghost town around here today.
Yeah, if there's nothing really else, I don't mind shutting it down early.
Yeah, I don't
been
mind.
Going for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't mind either. Let's see. Let me look at my list because I wrote down some things that I wanted to talk about. Yep, we covered everything that I had written down. We'll be on Spaces again Monday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. I'll do my stream tomorrow at 2. Let's see, that'll be 1 p.m. Pacific. I think that's everything that's coming up.
Yeah, so for any new users, Banana will have his spaces tomorrow where he does the complete PTDC and UFO walkthrough. As my DAP gets done, that'll probably be fun for you because you'll have a new DAP to kind of go through and maybe poke around on it your own, for your own learning curve as well.
Yeah.
That one's a little further away, but I also am excited to get you over the stats page when we can. Because now with this, there's a few repeating stats, but a few different stats. So you can hop back and forth from looking to PTDC and then this stats page and have more information to go over for people watching, which is cool. Also, hopping over to Secreto Bank is always cool too. And we have multiple sites that give good data in different ways, showcase it in different ways, etc.
Yeah.
So the more the better, honestly.
I'd say yes. I love stats. I think we're stats people. This is a stats ecosystem. Okay. It absolutely is. This is not it's a memeable coin, but it's not a meme coin that doesn't have any utility. It literally has a lot of metrics that we can pull out of this thing. Yeah. So yeah.
Cool, guys. Yeah, I think that's it. We'll shut it down. You guys have a good weekend, and we'll see where everything goes next week.
Green. I bet we go green. That's just a gut feeling. We'll see, man.
All right. See you guys.
All right. See ya. Yeah, I think we're going green. Just a guess. Pure guess. So I'm gonna post that on the in the Telegram, those stats if you guys want to see it. But that was a good spaces, I thought. Cornelius, did you get your breakfast burrito? You don't make burritos at McDonald's. Did you get your breakfast thing? I'm gonna be making some a playlist, like a complete walkthrough of PTDC. I'm working on the scripts right now because we're gonna script it. Crypto Bella is going to help me with several of those videos, so it's going to be a good resource. I'm intending it to be a good resource for onboarding. You can literally send somebody a link to the playlist that's curious about the grays, and they can satisfy their curiosity with number one to get them hooked in, right? And then if they want to study it and get in, and they just watch the other videos. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. Yeah, I guess it's a superpower. Well, I need one, man. I needed one. Okay, guys. Y'all have a great Saturday, and we'll see you around. Adios, guys. See ya.